Do-Won Park stood at the viewing window of the transport ship, watching as the massive space station grew larger. Terminus Prison was the size of a small moon, its metal surface covered in warning lights and defense systems. After 15 years of working in space prisons, this would be his biggest challenge yet. "Chief Guard Park, please report to the docking bay," the ship's computer announced. Do-Won picked up his bag and straightened his dark blue uniform. He was proud of the silver badge on his chest that marked him as a human prison guard. These days, most high-security prisons would only hire humans as guards. The docking bay was cold and bright. Warden Jae-Yun Lee was waiting for him there. She was shorter than Do-Won, but stood straight and confident in her black uniform. Her gray hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes were sharp and alert. "Welcome to Terminus, Chief Guard Park," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "I specifically asked for more human guards. We need your kind here." "Thank you, Warden," Do-Won replied. "I read the facility report, but I'd like to hear your view of the situation." Jae-Yun started walking, and Do-Won followed. The station's corridors were extra wide and tall to accommodate prisoners of all sizes. "We have 8,000 of the galaxy's most dangerous prisoners here," she explained. "Every species you can imagine, and some you've probably never heard of. But that's not our biggest problem." They stopped at a security checkpoint. Jae-Yun pressed her hand to a scanner, and a massive door slid open. The next section was different. The walls were covered in strange patterns that seemed to move. "This is why we need humans," Jae-Yun said, pointing at the walls. "These are psychic dampening fields. We have areas with extreme radiation, sections with crushing gravity, and zones hot enough to melt steel. Most species can only work in one or two types of areas, but humans," she smiled. "You Deathworlders can handle it all." Do-Won nodded. He had heard this many times before. Humans came from Earth, a planet that other species called a death world because of its harsh conditions. This made humans naturally tough and adaptable. They reached another checkpoint, and Jae-Yun showed him a large screen displaying the prison's layout. "We've had 3 escape attempts in the past month. All failed, thanks to our human guards. But something feels wrong. My instincts tell me these weren't random attempts." "Instincts are something else humans are good at," Do-Won said. He studied the prison layout carefully. "Who else is on my team?" 3 other humans. Hajun Kim is your combat specialist. My son Choi handles technical security, and Taeyum Kang is new but shows promise. They'll meet you tomorrow." Suddenly, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor. "Security breach in Block 7. A voice announced over the speakers. "Unknown energy signature detected." Jae-Yun quickly checked her tablet. Her face turned serious. "It's the Voltarian prisoner. Pure energy being. Most force fields can't hold it." "Where's the nearest environment suit?" Do-Won asked, already moving. "You don't understand," Jae-Yun said. "The Voltarian gives off enough radiation to kill most species in minutes, even with protection." Do-Won smiled slightly. "Good thing you hired a human then." As he ran toward Block 7, Do-Won could hear Jae-Yun calling for backup. He knew this was exactly why humans were needed here. Their bodies could handle radiation better than most species, and their minds stayed clear in dangerous situations. A Voltarian prisoner would be a good first test. It was time to show why Deathworlders made the best prison guards in the galaxy. Do-Won ran through the corridors of Terminus Prison, following the flashing red emergency lights. The radiation warning signs were getting brighter as he got closer to Block 7. He could feel the heat growing stronger through his uniform. "Chief, wait," a voice called from behind. A tall man in a guard's uniform was running to catch up. "I'm Hajun Kim, combat specialist. Warden Lee sent me." Do-Won nodded without slowing down. "Good timing. What can you tell me about the Voltarian?" "Pure energy being. No solid form. Feeds on power sources. Already burned through 2 security gates. Hajun reported as they ran. Standard force fields don't work on it. They reached Block 7's entrance. The metal door was glowing red-hot. Through the observation window, Du-Won could see a bright, blue-white shape floating in the corridor. It looked like a small star. "Where are the other guards?" Du-Won asked, checking the security panel. "My son is shutting down power to this section. Tai-Young is evacuating the other prisoners. The alien guards can't come here. Radiation's too high." Do-Won studied the Voltarian. It was moving toward the prison's main power core. It's not trying to escape. It's looking for food. The door's security panel suddenly went dark as my son cut the power. The Voltarian paused, sensing the change. Du-Won pressed his hand against the door. It was hot, but not unbearable for a human. "Our suits would just give it more power to feed on," Du-Won said. "We go in without them." Hajun grinned. "This is why they want human guards. We're crazy enough to try this." They pushed the heavy door open together. The heat hit them like a wall, and the radiation made their skin tingle. Any other species would already be in serious trouble, but humans could handle short exposures. The Voltarian turned toward them, its bright form pulsing. It sent out a wave of energy that made the metal walls crackle. "It's trying to scare us off," Du-Won said calmly. "Standard tactic against organic beings." Hajun pulled out a special device from his belt. "My son designed this. Generates an inverse energy field. Should weaken it, but someone needs to get close." "Keep it distracted," Du-Won ordered. He began moving along the wall while Hajun stepped forward. The Voltarian focused on Hajun, growing brighter. The metal floor under it was starting to melt. Hajun activated my son's device, creating a shimmering field between him and the energy being. Du-Won circled behind the Voltarian. The radiation was intense now, making his vision blur, but he kept moving. This was why humans were valuable. Their bodies could push through conditions that would stop other species. "Now," Hajun shouted, pushing his energy field forward. The Voltarian jerked back, right into the containment unit Du-Won had ready. The unit snapped shut, specially designed to hold energy beings. "Prisoner secured," Du-Won reported through his communicator, his voice rough from the hot air. "Block 7 needs repair teams and radiation cleanup." Later, in the medical bay, Warden Lee visited them. Both guards had radiation burns, but nothing serious for humans. "Most species would be dead from that exposure," she said, checking their medical readouts. "This is exactly why we need human guards. You can adapt to any threat." "It's not just about being tough," Du-Won replied. "Humans are used to dealing with dangerous situations. On Earth, we evolved facing threats every day. It's in our nature." "And this was just your first day," Jia-Yun said with a slight smile. "Welcome to Terminus, Chief Park. I think you'll fit in perfectly here." Do-Won looked at Hajun, who was already asking when they could return to duty. Yes, this was exactly where they belonged. Sometimes the most dangerous prisons needed guards from one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. 3 days after the Voltarian incident, Du-Won sat in the prison's monitoring center, studying the security feeds. Something about the recent events bothered him. The Voltarian's timing had been too perfect, happening just as he arrived. My son Choi entered the room, carrying several data tablets. She was the youngest of the human guards, but her technical skills were exceptional. "Chief, I found something interesting in the prisoner transfer records," she said, placing a tablet in front of him. Do-Won looked at the screen. "These numbers don't match." "Exactly," my son replied. "In the past month, we've received 15 new prisoners, but the official records only show 10. Do-Won felt that familiar tension in his stomach. It was the same feeling he used to get while hunting in Earth's wilderness, the sense that a predator was nearby. Who has access to change these records? That's the strange part. Only senior administrative staff can modify them. Someone high-ranked is hiding these transfers. The door opened again, and Tae-Yum Kang walked in. Despite being new to prison work, the young guard had sharp eyes. "Chief, remember how you asked me to watch the maintenance crews? I saw something odd in Block 4. Do-Won turned to face him. "Tell me." The alien maintenance worker was checking the security cameras, but his toolkit had signal blocking devices. I recognized them from my training. My son quickly typed on her tablet. Block 4 had 3 security camera failures last week. The reports say it was normal wear and tear. Do-Won stood up and walked to the large screen showing the prison's layout. He pressed several buttons, bringing up the locations of recent incidents: the Voltarians' escape attempt, the camera failures, the hidden prisoner transfers. They formed a pattern. "Someone's testing our security," he said quietly. "Each incident targets a different system. They're looking for weak points." The room's door slid open again. Administrator Yunho Baek stood there, his expensive uniform perfectly clean. "Ah, Chief Park, I heard you were reviewing security protocols." Do-Won noticed how my son casually moved to block her tablet screen. Humans were good at reading body language, and something about the administrator felt wrong. "Yes, sir. Standard procedure after incidents like the Voltarian escape attempt." Good. Though I think you're being too cautious. These were isolated incidents." Yunho smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'll need a full report by tomorrow." After the administrator left, Tae-young spoke softly. "Did anyone else notice his hands?" They were shaking. "He's nervous," Do-Won agreed. "My son, check the records. I want to know every system Administrator Baek has accessed in the past month." "Already on it, Chief, but he's deleted his access logs." "That's not standard procedure." Do-Won looked at the security feeds again. In one screen, he saw Hejun patrolling Block 7, now repaired after the Voltarian incident. In another, alien guards were changing shifts. Everything looked normal, but his instincts told him danger was coming. "Whatever's being planned, it's big," he said. "My son, start monitoring all administrative communications. Tae-young, watch the maintenance crews more closely. I'll inform Warden Lee that we might have a serious security breach." As his team moved to their tasks, Do-Won remembered something his old mentor used to say. Humans weren't just strong because they came from a dangerous world. They were strong because they never stopped watching for threats, even in safe places. Right now, those instincts were telling him that Terminus Prison was not safe at all. The alarms woke Do-Won from his short rest. He was moving before the announcement even finished. Multiple disturbances in Blocks 2, 5, and 9. All guards report to stations. He met Hejun in the corridor. "Block 2 has a riot starting," Hejun reported as they ran. "Block 5's environmental controls are failing. Block 9's doors are malfunctioning. 3 problems at once." "This is not random," Do-Won said. "Where are my son and Tae-young?" "My son is trying to fix the environmental controls. Tae-young is helping evacuate Block 5. The temperature is dropping too fast for the alien guards to handle." They reached Block 2 first. Through the security windows, they could see prisoners gathering in groups, ignoring orders to return to their cells. The alien guards looked nervous. "Look at the prisoners," Do-Won said quietly. "They're organized. They're waiting for something." One of the alien guards, a tall blue-skinned being, approached them. "Chief Park, we can't control them. They won't listen to us." Do-Won studied the guard's face. "You're afraid. Not of the prisoners, of something else. Who threatened you?" The alien guard's skin changed color slightly, a sign of surprise. "How did you?" "Humans are good at reading faces, even alien ones," Hejun explained. "Someone's been threatening the guards, haven't they?" Before the guard could answer, Do-Won's communicator buzzed. "It was my son. Chief, I found something in the maintenance ducts. Hidden weapons. Lots of them. And some of the serial numbers match the prison's armory." "Someone smuggled weapons out of our own armory?" Hejun asked. "No," Do-Won replied. Someone with high-level access moved them legally. Made it look like normal inventory transfer. Administrator Bake. The alien guard's color changed again. You don't understand. His reach goes beyond this prison. He has connections. Suddenly, the lights in Block 2 flickered. The prisoners immediately moved toward the cell's doors. They were ready. They were waiting for this signal. Hajun, get to Block 9. Stop those doors from opening. I'll handle things here, Do-One ordered. He turned to the alien guard. You have a choice to make. Help us stop this, or be charged as part of it. The guard hesitated, then straightened. The administrator said he would have my family's business ruined. But you're right. This is wrong. Do-One nodded and activated his communicator again. Warden Lee, we have proof of Administrator Beck's involvement. The prison is compromised. Request emergency lockdown authorization. Granted, Jia-Yun's voice was firm. But Do-One, Bake isn't in his office. We can't find him. The lights flickered again. In Block 5, alarms showed the temperature still dropping. In Block 9, the door systems were being overridden. Through it all, Do-One felt strangely calm. This was what humans were best at, facing chaos and danger with clear minds. My son, he called through his communicator. Can you track the administrator through internal sensors? No need, Chief, she replied. I can guess where he's going. All these system failures, they form a path. They're all leading to the central control hub. Do-One looked at Hejun, who nodded and started running toward Block 9. The human guards knew what to do. They had evolved on a planet where danger could come from anywhere, at any time. Their bodies and minds were built for exactly this kind of crisis. The prison was falling into chaos, but the human guards were ready. They had seen the pattern, understood the plan, and now they would stop it. Because sometimes, the most dangerous prison in the galaxy needed guards from the most dangerous planet in existence. My son worked quickly at her security station, her fingers moving fast across 3 different screens. The temperature in Block 5 was still dropping, but she had found something more important. She activated her communicator to call Do-One. Chief, I found proof, she said. Administrator Bake has been sending coded messages to someone outside the prison. I decoded them. He's been planning this for months. What's the target? Do-One asked. He was still in Block 2, keeping the prisoners under control. The central control hub. But that's not all. My son pulled up more files on her screen. He's not working alone. There are 5 other administrators from different prisons involved. They're planning to release prisoners from multiple facilities at once. In another part of the prison, Tai-Yum discovered more evidence. He was checking the maintenance tunnels when he found hidden containers. Inside were prison guard uniforms and identification cards. They're planning to disguise the prisoners, Tai-Yum reported through his communicator. Get them out during the confusion. Do-One processed this information quickly. Humans were good at seeing the big picture, at understanding how small pieces fit together. This isn't just a prison break. It's an organized attack on the entire prison system. Hajun's voice came through the communicator next. Chief, Block 9 is secure. But I found something in the security logs. Someone has been changing the guard rotation schedules, moving all the alien guards away from critical areas. Because alien guards can't handle extreme conditions, Do-One realized. They're going to change the environment in those areas, make it impossible for anyone except humans to stop them. Warden Lee joined the communication channel. Do-One, we have another problem. The external communication system is down. We can't call for help. My son typed faster on her keyboard. The sabotage is spreading. Environmental controls are failing in more sections. Backup systems aren't responding. They're trapping us in our own prison. Do-One made a quick decision. This was why humans were valued in crisis situations. They could think clearly when everything was falling apart. My son, focus on protecting the central control hub systems. Tai-Yum, get to the backup power generators. Hajun, Start moving all alien guards to safe areas. What about you, Chief? Tai-Yum asked. I'm going to have a talk with Administrator Bake. Do-One started moving toward the central hub. He doesn't know something important about humans. We don't just survive on a death world. We learn from it. We learn to spot predators before they strike. My son's voice came through again, urgent. Chief, more systems are failing. Life support is being overridden in multiple sections. But I found something else, a hidden program in the security system. It's set to activate in 30 minutes. What will it do? Warden Lee asked. Release all the containment field controls at once, my son answered. Every cell in the prison will open. Every security measure will fail. Do-One quickened his pace. The pieces all fit now. The hidden transfers, the smuggled weapons, the threatened guards. Administrator Bake and his conspirators had planned everything carefully. But they had made one mistake. They had forgotten why humans made the best prison guards. It wasn't just because humans could survive in harsh conditions. It was because humans had evolved to be predators themselves. And right now, the human guards of Terminus Prison were hunting. The prison plunged into darkness as the main power system failed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting red shadows through the corridors. In multiple cell blocks, the security doors started opening one by one. Do-One ran through the chaos, heading for the central control hub. His communicator crackled with reports from his team. Block 3 is completely dark, Hejun reported. Prisoners are coming out. They have weapons. I'm engaging them now. Block 5 temperature is falling below freezing, Tai-Yum called in. The alien guards had to retreat. I'm the only one who can still move in here. My son's voice came next. Chief, the control hub's defenses are activating. Administrator Bake is sealing himself inside. He's changing all the environmental controls. Each section is becoming lethal for different species. Do-One passed through a section where the gravity had increased to triple normal levels. His muscles strained, but he kept moving. Humans were built to handle different gravity levels better than most species. Their homeworld's varying conditions had made them adaptable. Warden, he called through his communicator. How many prisoners are loose? At least 200, Jae-Yun replied. More cells are opening every minute. The alien guards are trapped in safe zones. Only the human guards can still move through the affected areas. Do-One reached a corridor filled with radiation warnings. The levels were high enough to kill most species in minutes. He kept running. Human bodies could handle short exposures to radiation that would stop other species instantly. My son, what's your status? He asked. I've locked down the prison's external doors. No one can leave yet, but I can't stop the internal systems from failing. We have 15 minutes before all containment fields fail completely. In Block 5, Tai-Yum was fighting in the freezing cold. His breath came out in white clouds, but his body's natural resistance to temperature extremes kept him going. He faced a group of prisoners trying to reach a transport bay. Hejun had his own battles in Block 3. The darkness didn't stop him. Humans had evolved as pursuit predators, with excellent low-light vision. He could see the armed prisoners clearly, and he moved to stop them. Do-One finally reached the entrance to the central control hub. The air here was thin, barely breathable for most species, but humans had evolved to handle high altitudes and varying oxygen levels. He could still function. Through the reinforced window, he saw Administrator Bake working at the main control panel. The administrator looked up and smiled when he saw Do-One. You're too late, Bake said through the intercom. In 10 minutes, every containment field will fail. Every prisoner will be free. And the only guards who could stop them, you humans, will be overwhelmed by the numbers. You don't understand humans very well, Do-One replied calmly. We evolved hunting in packs, against overwhelming numbers. In the harshest conditions, you didn't trap us in here with the prisoners. You trapped the prisoners in here with us. He pulled out his security override card. the one my son had reprogrammed while tracking Buck's conspiracy. It was time to show why humans were the galaxy's best prison guards. They weren't just strong. They weren't just tough. They were survivors who never gave up, no matter the odds. Do-1 inserted my son's modified security card into the control hub's lock. The door's systems fought against the override, but my son's programming was stronger. With a hiss, the sealed door began to open. Administrator Bake turned from his control panel, his confident smile fading. Impossible. The air in here is too thin to breathe. The radiation levels are fatal. For most species, yes, Do-1 said, stepping inside. His chest burned from the thin air, but he kept moving forward. But humans evolved breathing thin air on mountain peaks. We survived radiation levels that would kill other species. Through his communicator, he could hear his team fighting across the prison. Hajun's voice came through first. Block 3 secured. Moving to help Block 4. Then Taeyong. Freezing systems contained in Block 5. Some prisoners are surrendering. They've never seen anyone fight in these conditions before. My son added, 7 minutes until complete system failure. But I've locked down the external doors. No one is leaving this station. Bake backed away from the main control panel. You don't understand. This goes beyond one prison. We have people in every major facility. The whole system will fall. No, Do-1 said, moving closer despite the crushing gravity Bach had activated in the room. You don't understand. Humans don't just survive on our death world. We learned from it. We learned to spot threats, to work together, to never give up. He reached for the control panel, but Bake pulled out a weapon, one of the stolen ones from the armory. Stay back. One shot will breach the hull. We'll both be pulled into space. Do-1 didn't stop moving. Another thing about humans, we're really good at calculating risks. That weapon will take 3 seconds to power up. I only need 2 seconds to reach you. Bake fired, but Do-1 was already moving. Humans had faster reaction times than most species, another gift from their dangerous homeworld. He tackled Bach before the weapon could fully charge. The shot went wide, hitting a sidewall instead of the hull. As they fought near the control panel, Bake tried to activate more emergency protocols. The room's temperature dropped rapidly. The gravity increased again. Radiation levels spiked. He was trying to use the room's environment to stop Do-1. But humans were pursuit predators. They could keep fighting long after other species would give up. Do-1 endured each environmental attack, moving steadily closer to the main control panel. My son, he called through his communicator, his voice rough from the thin air. Send the shutdown sequence. Sending now, Chief. 3 minutes until total system failure. We have to stop it. Do-1 reached the panel at last. His fingers were numb from the cold, his body aching from the gravity and radiation. But he had evolved from ancestors who hunted for days without rest, who survived whatever nature threw at them. He entered the shutdown commands while holding Buck down. Red warning lights flashed across the screens. The entire prison seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see if they could stop the system failure in time. This was the moment that would show everyone why humans were the galaxy's best prison guards. Not just because they were tough, but because they never stopped fighting, no matter how bad things got. The central control hub screens turned from red to green as the shutdown sequence completed with just seconds to spare. Throughout Terminus Prison, security systems came back online. Cell doors sealed. Environmental controls returned to normal. The crisis was over. Do-1 secured Administrator Buck, while Warden Lee arrived with security reinforcements. Status report. She ordered through the station-wide communication system. Block 3 is secure, Hajun reported. All prisoners returned to cells. Minimal casualties. Block 5 stabilize, Taeyong added. Environmental systems back to normal. Found more hidden weapons, all confiscated. My son's voice came next. External communications restored. I've sent evidence of the conspiracy to Central Command. Security teams are moving to arrest Bak's collaborators at other prisons. Warden Lee looked at Do-1 with respect. You and your team just prevented the biggest prison break in galactic history. But I don't understand something. How did you know the administrator was involved? Human instincts, Do-1 explained, still breathing heavily from the thin air. We evolved to spot predators and detect threats. Everything about him felt wrong. Security officers led Bak away. The administrator looked back at Do-1. It should have worked. We planned for every possibility. Changed the environment to stop any species that tried to interfere. That was your mistake, Do-1 said. You tried to use environmental hazards against guards from a death world. Humans evolved facing worse conditions than anything you created here. Later, in the medical bay, the human guard team gathered for treatment. They had radiation burns, cold damage, and various injuries, but nothing their tough bodies couldn't handle. Warden Lee joined them, holding an official document on her tablet. Central Command just sent this, she said. New regulation. All maximum security prisons must have human guards as at least 60% of their security force. They're calling it the Terminus Protocol. Hajum smiled despite his injuries. Because we can handle any environment. Not just that, the warden replied. Because you can spot threats before they happen. Because you work together as a team. Because you never give up, no matter how bad things get. My son looked up from her tablet. The news is spreading. The other prisons are already requesting human guards. They're calling us the galaxy's best security force. We earned that title today, Do-1 said. Not because we're stronger or tougher than other species, but because we learned something important on Earth. The most dangerous environments create the best survivors. Tae-young nodded. That's why human guards work so well. We don't just endure harsh conditions. We learn from them. We adapt. We overcome. Outside the medical bay window, they could see Terminus Prison returning to normal. Alien guards were returning to their posts, prisoners were secured in their cells, and the station's systems were running smoothly again. You know what this means? Hajun asked. More humans will want to become prison guards now. They'll see it as a challenge. Good, Warden Lee said. Because after today, everyone in the galaxy knows something important. If you want to guard the most dangerous prisoners in the most extreme conditions, you need guards from the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. You need humans. Do-1 looked at his team, tired, injured, but undefeated. They had proven why humans were the best choice for prison guards. Not just because they came from a death world, but because they had learned the most important lesson their harsh planet had to teach. Never give up, no matter what.